Yes, people, welcome back to the SPTC Podcast. I, as always, am your host, Jay McIntosh, joined as ever by Mr. Simon Phillips. Si, how are you doing?
I'm very well, keeping much warmer than you today, mate, with my beanie hat on.
Yes, well, you are a hatted man with nothing under the hat, so that obviously means that you need to keep that area nicely covered in order to maintain the warmth, but I think you're doing a good job. I'm off to get a haircut later, so I may lose a significant amount of mine.
It's needed. It's definitely needed.
Yeah. Bird's nest right now, man. It's so long. It's been like 2 months. Anyway, we're here to talk about Chelsea. So I think that's the most important thing. I'd say it's been fairly quiet international break, to be honest with you, Si, which I like. That's good. We'll get on to the Chelsea-Burnley fixture later. I think it's a fairly decent fixture you could ask for after an international break. So, we'll dissect that in a bit. And before we get on to transfer rumours and free agents and all that good stuff, we were talking just before recording, Si, about Mr. Todd Boehly and a couple of his comments which have done the rounds. Are you able to provide any information?
Well, I mean, Boehly only ever talks at these events, doesn't he?
Summits, yes.
These summits, yeah. And they're always these financial ones that go on in America. And we don't ever hear him on Chelsea channels, which I find bizarre. I've actually, this is public knowledge. I've told people this before, but I've spoken to him a couple of times. I've asked him to come on this podcast. Yeah. And initially, when he first took over, he said he was keen. But I've messaged him a couple of times about it again, and he hasn't responded. So he's had opportunities to, but he's ignored it. Mm-hmm. And I think it would help because obviously these quotes, people are it's behind a paywall, the article, so people are just going to get the little bits and pieces that are coming out. And
would you like me to read them?
I mean, we can read it in a second, but yeah, I think if you go through them, but I think you can see after you go through them how people can take little bits of it out of context, but the actual message he's sending, I think, is quite arrogant. But yeah, read them through.
Well, I think, before I do that, the general tone of the piece, because I've managed to get around the paywall and have a cheeky look at it whilst you've been talking, is that what Si's saying essentially is that the point Boehly's getting across is that we're not as bad as the criticism we get. However, I think it's a really nuanced point, and an article like this really misses the nuance of what it means to be a Chelsea fan and consumer of the club brand, if we're going to talk in sort of business summit language. Now, the article focuses on, to understand Todd Boehly and Chelsea, you need to understand amortization. And I know every Chelsea fan who's just heard the word amortization wants to literally shut this podcast off. We all know what that means by now. You can spread costs evenly over time to make the books look better. So 50 million transfer over 5 years is 10 million a year rather than 50 million up front. And it means that things can be balanced and you can sign greater players and more players without breaking financial fair play rules. The line, however, that has upset some Chelsea fans is essentially with regards to criticism of the Chelsea project. And he said, sometimes my wife and my family take it, brackets, the criticism differently than I take it. I just find it's one more person that doesn't know what they're talking about. Now, the implication of that is fairly obvious. Todd Boehly essentially sort of suggesting that people who criticize the project don't know what they're talking about. Now, because it's a sort of blanket PR-friendly interview, so there's no names or there's no groups, so you don't know whether he's talking about fans or other people in the business community or other investors or all of them. You don't know. But just to be clear, and this is probably overly this is a subjective opinion rather than me trying to be objective, but I think the criticism that was levied at Boehly was in the first half of this post-Roman era of Chelsea when you buy Aubameyang and Koulibaly and everyone else, and that sucks. And then you sack Tuchel, fine. The Lukaku thing's a nightmare. All that stuff's going on around Chelsea, and then the model completely switches to buying young players. And now I don't think Chelsea fans have really any major concerns with buying younger players, sort of sub 25 mostly. I think fans now are more on board with that than they've ever been. I think the point that you say, Simon, the point that's missed in the piece and the point that clearly Todd Boehly doesn't understand when he says things like that is that if you make major changes, you need to be held accountable and be representative of the changes you're making. So, as the point Si made at the start of the show, going onto podcasts, not necessarily this one, but any of them, or having sort of community town halls where a load of Chelsea fans can go on Zoom and listen to him speak, and they can't all interject. You can submit questions, anything that allows people to understand what the club is. And actually, I think the biggest criticism that Todd Boehly's faced and clearly still faces at points is not fully understanding that football as a business is different to other businesses, because not only do you have a strong commercial aspect, but you also have a real emotional aspect. And that's not the case for the majority of companies. You know, even big healthcare companies, if you're in the States, you rely on your healthcare and you pay for it, but you don't have the emotional willingness and support that you do for football. And it means that identities and cultural fabrics are created. And if you don't understand those and you make massive sweeping changes at a place that actually has been quite stable since 2003, you're going to encounter criticism, not necessarily because you're making the wrong deals, which he has made many of those, but because you're not understanding the cultural fabric of what the club is, and you're not respecting the fact that we need those conversations if major changes are going to take place. We didn't have those under Roman, but I think the success offset that. We knew there was going to be a dip in success because of having to essentially respin what Chelsea is. And we spoke on the podcast loads, didn't we? We spoke last year, I remember. I think about this quite a lot. We spoke about it'd be good if they came out and said, you know, we're aiming for the Conference League this year, Europa League next year, and Champions League next year, and this is the plan. And so we can see, because the world's different from 2003. It's different from the sort of shady Russian oligarch that we used to have owning us. We kind of need a little bit more. And I think if that's not being given, you're open up to criticism. And I don't think the Chelsea ownership have done as badly as we thought they might do, given how the first sort of year or so went. And we can clearly see that there's a forward plan. But I just think that, you know, you're gonna get criticised, and you're gonna have to take it or not take it depending on what you want. So, you know, it kind of is what it is. But they're my sort of 2 cents, Si. I don't know if I've been waffling too long. I probably have, to be fair.
No, you've made some good points. I think it's the blanket statement that he's made there. If he doesn't realise what effect that's going to have on the fan base, then he's not reading the room. I think that he could have just been a lot smarter with how he says stuff like that, and not just so, you know, freely saying. I've not seen loads of criticism about it, but I've seen quite a few comments, you know, of people saying how arrogant it is for him to say that. And like, if he meant it just towards the media, then just say that. Make sure that you're saying that, and then say that you understand the fans' frustration, and you understand the fans being critical and asking questions, because that's what a lot of us, you know, me and you, in the early days, all we were doing was asking questions. And you know, some people might see that as criticism, which it is in a way, but it's a concern. It's a genuine concern as a fan, and questions that you're asking. And if he's saying that anyone who's asking these questions or doubting the project in any way doesn't know what they're talking about, it's just a wild blanket statement that's going to get torn apart and make people angry.
And I don't think it's the responsibility of fans to bridge the business sport gap. I think it's the responsibility of the owner. That is, I don't think fans should be told they don't know what they're talking about, because fans are specifically talking about almost always the men's first team. They're not talking about how successful you are amortizing fees and well done for sort of navigating choppy, sort of loopholey financial business waters. Like, well done. Like, no one actually cares about that. Just to be clear, we were owned by quite a suspicious Russian oligarch for 20 years, and most Chelsea fans will still publicly back him as an individual. I don't think the business side, the personality side matters to Chelsea fans. It's on the pitch. Yeah. So fans aren't criticising the business, really. They might criticise you spend too much on a player. That doesn't really matter. That's just peak day something to talk about criticism. I think Chelsea fans look for a longer term footballing vision, and when you're not from football, you don't have a football background, you've got a sports background but not football, which is so specific, despite it being the largest sport. It's so specific. And I think that when you don't have those prerequisite areas of knowledge and understanding, and you enter an institution like Chelsea and you make sweeping changes, and you're front and center of every newspaper because you put your face there, and you're front and center of every TV news bulletin because you paid for them to be there, like, you're going to get the criticism if on the field doesn't match. And like I say, we're seeing it step by step. I think fans are week on week beginning to buy into the project more than be against the project. But yeah, I think criticism is fair. And to be honest, even if Chelsea are winning everything, there would still be some criticism somewhere. So it's unavoidable. So I can understand what he's saying too. And I think on a business side, Chelsea have probably surprised almost all of us, Chelsea or non-Chelsea fans, in the sense of, well, he kind of assumed over the last 3 years there's going to be some form of financial meltdown and points, and Chelsea have done this wrong, and here's the laws have changed, but none of that's really happened yet. And you know, they've played this sort of business world of it well, and let's just hope that means that we see longer term success on the pitch. So, talking of longer term success on the pitch, Kenan Yildiz has been linked with the Blues, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been a player that Chelsea have had interest in since the summer, really. They actually did inquire in the summer, but Juventus want to keep him. They've got no intention of letting him go. He's their wonder kid. Yep. You know, he's had Gianfranco Zola comparing him to himself and saying it reminds him of himself as a player. So that's pretty much the biggest compliment you can get as a young player.
Which is nuts, because I don't think he's anything like Zola.
No, and actually, if you read further into that quote, he does say, like, I can't remember how he explains it, but he doesn't say, like, in terms of stylistically, it's more like, it's, you know,
the way that he can affect a game. I've seen that quotes too, for sure.
But it's still a compliment, and for Zola to say it, that's great. But yeah, so that he's got a lot of clubs after him. Pretty much every big club are looking at him, and his agents at the moment have been discussing a new contract with Juventus, but those talks have stalled. He's been, well, Juventus, you know, we all know they've got financial troubles at the moment, and they don't want to pay basically what Yildiz is asking for. Go on.
They've always got financial troubles, man. Juve are, oh man.
Yeah, so they're going to struggle to keep him, but his contract is not short. It's 2029, so it's not like they're desperate to extend at the moment. They've got time on their side, but you know, Chelsea are knocking the door. Chelsea have made contact again for one of the next two transfer windows and saying that they're here for him. They're very interested in signing him, but other clubs are doing the same. But it all depends on how those contract talks go. But I reckon if he does end up signing a new deal, which I think he still will, I believe there'll be a release clause in there that will make him a bit cheaper than the 100 million odd that Juventus have been saying that's what it would take to sell him right now. So I think it could work in Chelsea's favour or other interested clubs' favour if he does sign that new deal, and it has sort of a more realistic clause in there. And I think that might be what they're negotiating and working on at the moment. But yeah, he's definitely one that Chelsea are really into, like they are many young players. 20 years old, obviously got the world at his feet, and he's having a very good season so far, and did last season as well.
He is actually having a very good season so far. Do you have any thoughts on the player side before I sort of waffle on again? I'm conscious that I've been waffling more than you this.
Jay, we love your waffling on here. That's what we're here for.
That's just not true. Okay, fine. Well, I can waffle for a bit. So, firstly, he's just not a £100 million player. I don't think he's a very, very good player. I don't think he's a £100 million player.
No.
I know why Juve would think he's a £100 million player, but I don't think in reality he is one yet. Now, when he sort of came through and did the sort of Del Piero thing at Juve and got the big goals and a few big moments and really sort of Mika Richards burst onto the scene, got the contract to 2029, playing on the left. Now, he's playing more as a 10 for Juve this season. Juve are quite smelly. They're a bit sort of Manchester United-y at the moment. Serie A is a really interesting league in the sense that the fewest goals are scored per match week, which is dull. But the league itself is the most competitive out of Europe's top fives in terms of who can win it, because genuinely it changes so much. I still think Inter are favourites, but Napoli can win it. AC Milan can win it. Roma are a joint top with Inter at the moment. You know, exact same record: 8 wins, 3 losses, no draws. You know, there's all those teams can win it. Juve, Como are even doing quite well in 7th and could push European places. Bologna again are a really underrated team. However, Juve they just kind of suck. Like, I can't really describe it in a sort of more intellectual way, but they just kind of stink, and they're having a really difficult time. That the signings have been bad. That, you know, Marquis signed Douglas Luiz didn't work. I think Vlahovic is a success domestically, but in terms of being a ceiling raiser in Europe has not helped. Managerial appointments have not been ideal. Bremer, the centre-back, who's a world-class centre-back, is made of glass, who's always injured. So the Juve pitch is a little bit bizarre. And Yildiz is a shining light. He is almost the Garnacho at United kind of, there's something here in this sort of tumult of mess and very average players. There's a really good player here in Yildiz, and I think that he is one. At Chelsea, he won't start. He just won't start. If everybody's fit, that he won't start. But maybe that's not what he would be bought in for, because as we've said repeatedly, or you've said, Si, that Maresca likes to bring in or wants to have 2 players per position, which is great, unless you're competing with Cole Palmer or if you're competing with Caicedo and Enzo at the moment, which is difficult for people. I don't really think we have a backup. Do we have a backup left back at Chelsea? Who plays left back? Cuckoo's injured.
Hato.
Yeah. All right. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. In my head, he's still a centre back, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. So like, there are competitive places, and competing with Cole Palmer's going to be one thing. Well, that is the thing I think Yildiz would have to contend with. And yes, Yildiz is having a good season so far across 14 appearances. He's got 3 goals and 4 assists. So it's a goal or assist every other game, but it's in about 1,200 minutes. So it's a little bit better than that. I think his wage at the moment is just under 60k a year, around that as well. So he's not super high, and that would fall into Chelsea's wage structure, right? Of sort of paying people. I think Chelsea's average wage is 72,000, so he sort of fits in there with a chance to obviously increase through rewards. Again, just a little bit Garnacho-y in the high shot volume range. He's more of a chance creator than Garnacho, but I think that comes through playing as the 10 more and than Garni on the right. This season's certainly better than last season. He's had a few really, really good performances. If you want to go and see a really good Yildiz performance, I think he scored against Udinese in a 3-1 win towards the end of October, and I think that's probably his best performance. He does well for Turkey also. I think they played Bulgaria and won something like 6-0 or 6-1, and he played really well there. And the sort of Yildiz, Arda Güler, Juve, Real, sort of big talents, young players, it's really positive. But I don't think he is going to want to leave Juve to be a bench warmer at Chelsea and compete with, in my opinion, the best 10 in the Premier League. So, yeah. And I don't actually know where he moves outside of that, really, because as an individual, Juve aren't likely to sell him to another Italian team. And I don't think many other Italian teams can give him the wages much higher than he's on or that Juve could offer him. I don't think he's going to start at City or Chelsea or PSG or Arsenal or maybe Manchester United. But I think for him, that would not be an ideal move. So he's probably best staying put, and I think this is kind of a lot of agent talk trying to get an increased wage to put him in line with higher earners, which I think is fair enough. But as a sort of 10 option, he's a good one, but he probably wouldn't be my choice of someone to be a sort of Cole Palmer backup. Anyway,
that wasn't waffling at all, mate.
Well, I'm trying not to, mate. I'm running on fumes, as you know.
Good information in there.
Yeah, there are other players from Juve I would probably take before Yildiz. Maybe, I don't know actually. Maybe I don't like Juve. I'll be honest. Juve are in a sort of there's a few teams I don't like, Chelsea included. Joking. But Juve are sort of in the sort of pantheon of teams I'm not really a fan of. But I do like some of their players. But yeah, conscious with Yildiz, I think he'd want to play 10 on the left, and at the left he won't play, and the 10 will be behind Palmer. So for a Chelsea move, if he fancies a challenge, then great, he fits the profile. But whether he would want to do that, given he has a starting role at Juventus, who are massive, I don't know whether he would do. Who knows? Maybe it's actually the best club he could go to would be Bayern Munich, probably. in a year or two's time, but we shall see. Si, you put a piece out on the website this week, didn't you, about free agents, because the transfer window is approaching slightly faster than we would like. It's 5 weeks away, something like that. Just over 5 weeks away before it starts. So the website's going to get hectic in the new year. But whilst I try, Si, to waffle before I find the free agent piece, there it is, so I can find the names on the website. There were some good names in there, actually, Si. And I know that people have voted, but I think I would like to encourage people to go and check the answers and vote themselves, even though it's not actually that long to do, so the podcast might be out before then. But the names that you've given, Si, are Mike Magnon, goalkeeper at AC Milan, Mark Guehi, Konate, Rudiger, and Deo Upamecano. So there's 5 names there.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, please, Mr. Simon Phillips.
Well, the interesting one is the bottom poll, actually, on that is I've obviously asked people just to choose one out of the centre-backs there, the 4 centre-backs. If you can only choose one, they've obviously gone for Guehi as number 1, but 56%. And then the next one is Rudiger at 24%, which I think surprised me a bit. And then also on the actual individual poll, would you want Rudiger for free? You got 72% saying yes, they would. Now, my question is that just nostalgia, or do they still think Rudiger is good enough now to come in and do a starting job at centre-back for Chelsea? I don't know. I'm not sure if I'd back that. I like the idea of it.
Yeah, and do you know what, actually? I was thinking, because I saw this article and thought we'd talk about it on this episode. I really did think about it, and I said to Si, for everyone listening, I said to Si before recording, Chelsea have released, or are in the process of releasing, these medium length, 20 to 30 minute videos interviewing players. I think players that have been interviewed so far be Robert Sanchez, Pedro Neto, Wesley Fofana, Levi Colwill, and someone else who I'm forgetting. Did I say Lavia? I don't know. Someone else. And they're really interesting in terms of giving a sort of picture of the squad. And actually what you get from everyone is a real sense of cohesion. And I love Rudiger. I really do. But he is a specific individual in a dressing room. And it doesn't matter where he is, be it Stuttgart, Roma, Chelsea, Real. Yes, he's super elite, or has been super elite, but there is the chance he could slightly rock the boat, and I don't think the boat needs rocking. Would I take it? I mean, would I take him on a free to start next season with? No. Would I take him for maybe 10 million in January? Probably. But I don't think he's the best of the centre-backs. I think out of Konate, Upamecano, Guehi, Rudiger, I don't think Rudiger's the best option there. I don't think Guehi's the best option either, to be honest with you. But
give us your list. Who would you go for first? Go from last to best.
Rudiger, Guehi, Upamecano, and Konate, probably.
You've got Rudiger bottom of that list.
Yeah.
Wow. And Konate top.
Konate top, yeah. And I have Upamecano and Guehi basically the same. Guehi plays in the Premier League and former Chelsea, so I get that. I think Upamecano is a more naturally gifted player and plays in a system that for Chelsea might be easier to jump into than... I know Palace play a very advanced system, but Chelsea's more ball dominant and Bayern's very similar. And so I can that in a sort of... That's my reason for the Upamecano Guehi thing. Upamecano is crazy consistent as well, man. He's so good. I really like him. 150 games at Leipzig, nearly 170 games for Bayern, bro. He's only 27. That's class. And Konate's just a world-class centre-back. I mean, what more do you need? We all see him play for Liverpool for the last however many years. He's just super good. And I think his given he knows the league, etc., 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 plays regularly, blah, 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 that would make him probably the top one, and his age too. Rudiger's bottom, not because he's terrible, but because he's the oldest. It's kind of, there's less use there in that sense, because a free agent obviously gets super high wages as well, and Chelsea are very conscious of their wage structure. So that's why I think the club might be a little bit conscious on free agents. But that would be, I would have Konate at the top, then Upamecano and Guehi basically the same, and then I would probably have Rudiger as well. What do you think, Si?
Well, I was just looking at the chart. You've basically pretty much gone the opposite to what the votes have said. That's interesting. I would go. I think I would agree. I'd probably put Guehi at top out of that list.
You think he's better than Konate?
Maybe not, but I think because he's younger, he's coming through, he's ready to make his next big move. I think he's ready to do that now. I think he's on the international scene as well.
Right, but this is what
I don't get me wrong. Like I don't rate him highly like a lot of others do. But
there's only 1 year age difference between Guehi and Konate.
Yeah, fair.
Like Konate, Upamecano, Guehi are all 25 to 27. Well, Guehi 25, Konate 26, Upamecano 27. I do hear that though. I won't there's not much of an argument on. I would 100% take Guehi at Chelsea like that. no questions asked.
I don't think he's a needle mover though. That's the only thing. I don't think he's gonna. I mean, he will improve. I think what we've got slightly, but he's not what we really need at the back. I don't think in terms of pure dominance. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't be against Konate. Like a lot of people on here seem to be. There's only 7%. He got the lowest.
I'm so amazed by that.
And also on the actual individual vote, 59% said no, they wouldn't take him for free.
What, Konate?
Yeah, 59% said no. Guehi got the best with 90%.
Yeah,
Konate's got a low. 59% said no. Rudiger 72% said yes. And then Upamecano really splits them as well. 57% said yes.
Yeah, Upamecano is class. Like he's been class for ages. Again, with Rudiger, it's like I think this is the slight problem with some of these lists, or the reason we haven't even spoken about the main things meant to speak about yet. So like half an hour in, Rudiger doesn't play. Like he's just been injured. He's played like 60 minutes this season.
That's my point.
He's 26. He's 6'4". He's already won the Premier League. Like I understand why the majority would go for Guehi, because he would be so ideal for this team. There's a lovely narrative in having him back. All of us would want to see him at Chelsea. I don't think there's a single Chelsea fan that wouldn't take Guehi, but I don't think he's better than Konate as a defender. Maybe slightly better on the ball, so granted, but Konate's huge, man. Like huge. Him and Colwell as a two would be crazy good. Crazy good. And I think Konate will go to Real Madrid probably, but it will
Why do you think people might be against him then? What reasons do you think people might give for being against him?
I don't know whether it's necessarily they're against him. I think it might be that people are just more pro Guehi, and then people are more familiar with Rudiger, and I don't know whether sort of Chelsea-Liverpool rivalries, a couple of injuries make people sort of question. Upamecano's had injuries as well. Actually, so's Guehi. All four of them have, actually. But yeah, I don't really know. It'd be great to hear from some of the people who did vote.
Yeah.
To understand what their thoughts are and what I think and what they think and maybe sort of try and clear that out a bit, because that makes less sense. Well, in terms of Konate being firm bottom, that's surprising. I think Rudiger would have to be firm bottom. I mean, the guy's he's not far off being 33 as well. So like he's 7 years older than Konate.
Yeah, not everyone's going to have that Thiago Silva effect when they come in. He came in at 36 years old and was our best player for Rudiger
got Thiago Silva affected. Like, he's actually never been at that level for Madrid or Chelsea since, I think. So, I don't know. That's an interesting list. Just a quick one on free agents, because we want to talk a little bit about Burnley before we go. The list is pretty good. So Upamecano, Konate, Guehi are probably the highest profile defenders. But a player that has been mentioned repeatedly with Chelsea, and I mentioned earlier on the show, Vlahovic is available on a free contract, Si. Now, I'm not overly convinced Bayern are going to part with the money for Jackson. But this is a purely hypothetical question. Would you be happy if Chelsea were to get Jackson back and sell him? Let's say they sell him for 60 million and then bring Vlahovic in on a free transfer to support Delap and João Pedro they would be the three, Vlahovic, João Pedro, Delap. Would you be comfortable with that?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't hesitate. I like Vlahovic. I mean,
you do like him, yeah?
Yeah. Vlahovic alone as our only striker with João Pedro, no. But when you've got Delap there as well, those two competing, I think would be really smart, especially, as you say, if you could get him on a free and then you've got all that money freed up, because we need to spend at the back. I still think we need a new goalkeeper and a new centre-back. So we need to pump money in there and make sure those two positions are sorted out and spend on them, get it sorted, no question. And then, and then throw Vlahovic up there, because I think we do need another 9. I definitely do. João Pedro, for me, is more of a deeper player. So I think Delap is still developing. He's shown that he's still got a lot to learn. So give him some proper competition. And I do like Vlahovic. So yeah, I do like that shout.
Mate, Rudiger's the same age as Fabinho. That's kind of weird, isn't it? I will say, actually, on a sort of slight curveball free agent, Senesi at Bournemouth is running out of contract. And he's class. Like, he's actually really good. So, yeah, there's other players there. I think Timber's brother is on a free agent in 2026. Julian Brandt, never going to get him out the Bundesliga, but he's available, as a maybe 1-2 year stopgap backup for Cole Palmer.
Is the only goalkeeper Magnon?
Worth looking at. I actually don't know. I can look. Give me a second. We'll do some live searching on the pod. Yeah, I think Magnon. Yeah, so there's. Oh dear, this list. I tell you who is free, Si. If we're going to get Rudiger back, Edouard Mendy's going to be on a free contract.
Oh, let's get him.
Bring him in. So the goalkeeper's available. I'll do it top down in terms of market value. So Mike Magnon is number 1. Then Ilan Meslier for Leeds. Then Nick Pope, Stefan Ortega, and then Edouard Mendy. Manuel Neuer, do you fancy him for a year? Which I definitely would, by the way. That should be class.
How old is he now? What's his age?
39. Bring him in.
Wow.
That's good. Bring him.
He's almost as old as me.
He's better than Sanchez. I promise you.
Yeah, probably is.
Definitely.
With goalkeepers anyway, age, you've got to take off like 10 years, I think. So that's the equivalent of like 29.
Especially if you're the greatest goalkeeper of all time.
Yeah.
I think he is anyway. I know some people will disagree, and that's fine, but I think he probably is. Should we talk about Burnley, Simon?
Let's do it. Let's round it up.
So Chelsea face Burnley away, 12:30, 22nd November. So Saturday lunchtime kickoff. Beautiful scenes. The Burnley team is very bizarre, and I'm not sure what I think about it. They've got a couple of interesting players. 10 points in the Premier League. I think they're 1 point above relegation zone. Their current sort of win percentage is 27%, so not ideal. In terms of like star performers this season, so everybody is aware that Josh Cullen's had a really good season so far. The FPL heads will certainly know that. Jadon Anthony's also had a good season. And Florentino, the sort of holding midfield, has been quite good. So Jadon Anthony, Josh Cullen, Hartman, the left back, has got quite a number of assists as well for Burnley, but he's not defensively very strong. And actually, when you look at the data, the number 1 statistical performer for Burnley is Martin Dubravka, which, when your goalkeeper is your best performer, often says quite a lot about the team that you're in. Whenever goalkeepers have amazing stats and they don't play for super elite teams, it's because their goal is getting peppered all game, every game. And that is kind of what's happening to Burnley. Now, I think it's fair to say that Burnley have done better. I thought they would be where Wolves are, so they're not where Wolves are. But again, it's a chance to just keep pace with what's going on, isn't it? It's just not a nightmare of a fixture, really. There are other teams you'd rather play after an international break than Burnley. So I'm feeling confident. How are you feeling?
Yeah, very confident. I think how we've been as well, how we went into the international break, then there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be fully confident about going there. I know it's away from home, and that could always, raise difficulties. But Burnley are, the newly promoted side. They're very, as you say, they're very like a random team. They've only drawn one game this season. They've lost 7 and won 3. 2 of those 3 have come in their last 5 games. So, there is that. Are they sensing something? Are they starting to find their feet a little bit more? Maybe, although they have lost the last 2 games. So it's for Chelsea. It's very much, again. We've been saying this for the last few weeks because we've had some better fixtures to play. It's there for the taking. Yeah. I'll always reiterate that there's no easy game in this league. But if Chelsea going off of the international break in the form that we're in, going into 3rd place in the table from like 9th at one point, and then playing this game. What better can you ask coming back off an international break, which we've actually had injury free as well, which is another bonus for us, and a few players coming back in. Hopefully Enzo Fernandez will be fit enough to start. Cole Palmer's not going to be yet, I don't think, but he's on his way. So we should have a full strength team to pick from, and Enzo Maresca's got nothing to lose going there. It's a 3-pointer for me, and again, it's one of those games that we have to win. If we want to be up there at the end of the season, we absolutely have to win this game, non-negotiable.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And again, like the point we made last week and we've made over the last few shows is that some of the fixtures around us at the moment are so preferable for Chelsea. You have to capitalise on these games. I mean, Arsenal have Tottenham. So they're 2 teams sort of around Chelsea that play. I bet Arsenal win, but even so. Brighton have Brentford. They're right next to each other in the table, so that's not going to be easy. I expect Liverpool to beat Forest, but you don't know with Liverpool. Even Palace are going away to Wolves, which you would think is a straight win, but it's Rob Edwards' first game. Molineux's actually a really buzzing stadium when it gets going. United welcome Everton. Newcastle play City. So, even Sunderland going away to Fulham. Sunderland have been great, and Fulham have not been great. But you just don't know. Whereas actually Chelsea-Burnley is just Chelsea should win 3-0 again. And especially with Arsenal and Barca and everyone else coming up. I think the expectation is fairly standard. It should be a routine Chelsea win. So what's your score prediction, Si?
I'm going to go 2-0 to Chelsea.
Nice. Goal scorers?
Let's have... We're going to have a goal from a set piece. So I think Fofana's going to get on the end of one.
Okay.
And then I'm just going random here.
Yeah, nice.
And then Liam Delap needs a goal because he's struggling a bit. So I think he's going to get a goal as well. Delap and Fofana.
No Esteval goal.
No, we'll let Esteval have a break. He's been smashing it on international duty again, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I think it'll probably be 3-0 to Chelsea, something like that. I think I'd love Delap to get a goal, to be fair. Let's say Delap brace and Enzo Fernandez scores a penalty if he plays, because he might not play. Right, Si?
Yeah, there's a chance he might not make it, but he has been training this week, but doing his own individual stuff, not in full group training, and they wanted to give him a full rest over this international break. He's got that knee problem that is still there, but it's something that they're managing. So I think it's fairly likely that he will be playing against Burnley, hopefully.
Beautiful. Okay, well, should we wrap it there, Si? Have I missed anything? We've sort of waffled through transfers and free agents and Boehly comments and everything else. Have I missed anything?
No. I think the waffling was good, mate. It was a good show.
Nice. Okay, well, hopefully everyone's still here to the sort of Danny wins his own end. But guys, if you have made it here, thank you so much for listening. Go and check the site as always. Are you going to be on the site on Saturday during the game, Si?
I'll set up the live discussion thread. Obviously, I won't be there by myself because I've got a game that I'll be playing, but I will set it up, and I always check in on the comments after as well. So
yeah, cool. Well, make sure you get yourself in there, guys. Si and I'll be back next Thursday as normal to go through all the sort of Chelsea news, Chelsea fallout, probably a couple of transfer whispers and a few other things that pop up in the meantime. So until then, have a lovely weekend. Let's hope Chelsea win, and we'll catch you next week.